Shalom, shalom. Barak Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakwadash. All right, double honors to our apostles and elder bishops here at Great Millstone. Shalom to you, Akim. All right. Still trying to figure out the title of this lesson. All right. I want to go along the lines of faith is our law in these times. You know, the law of faith. Some to the extent of that. Faith is a key principle in this truth. Faith has always been, from the beginning, has always been, a thing. Even dealing with going back to Abraham, faith was key, and the scriptures go into, if you believe in God, if you come to worship him or serve him, you must believe that he is. All right. Let's see if I can get that. It's very fundamental. Oops. I forgot to put believe. So Hebrews 11:6. All right. It says, but without faith, it is impossible to please him. All right. For he that cometh to the Most High must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. Okay. So you must believe. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. And what I want to do with this lesson is kind of show you the disbelief, during the time of the Exodus, the wilderness, and in different times that, Israel lacked that component of faith. Also want to shed light on how merciful the Lord is. And then, Lord willing, we can kind of end it off with how belief in God, belief in the Most High, all right, especially for these times, all right, because this whole thing, I'm kind of, just comparing and contrast to these times, and when you look at the history, Israel, all right, the first time around, the first Exodus, the key component that they lacked was faith. And the key component to make it through these times will be faith. Period. All right. So Hebrews 11:6 in the NLT, it says, and it is impossible to please God without faith. All right. Anyone who wants to come to him must believe that God exists. Right. And by believing that he exists, that means you believe in the miracles. You believe in his power. You believe in his words. You believe in his promises that they will accomplish what he sought them out to do. All right. So in that he rewards, you must believe that there's a reward. Okay. Many fall out. All right. And because they don't believe there's a reward. Okay. Those who sincerely seek him. All right. So you must believe that you're going to receive a reward. That's a huge part of this. And I must, I kind of put this lesson together earlier, and I used chat to help me kind of piece it together. And what I did, because I want to draw from what I got earlier. Okay. And Salaki, so bear with me. All right. So I asked chat, Let's see here. I told him to point out all the Israelites' unfaithfulness during the Exodus. Use Apocrypha as well. And what it did was put them in chronological order. Well, I asked it to put it in chronological order, but it gave me a list of their unfaithful acts during the time of the Exodus in the wilderness. And boy, let me tell you, when we go over it, or when I was reading it earlier, it struck a nerve. You know? And then I looked at the Most High, Yahweh Shem Yahushua, his reaction toward everything, or his response towards Israel rebelling, murmuring, doing all sorts of unfaithful acts, right? You've seen the power in God. You've seen the power and mercy in his mercy alone. Which, for the times that we're coming in, we're definitely going to have faith. We can't be like they were, okay? And the scriptures go into that. And Salaki, I know it's kind of taking a while to get to it. All right. So I believe it's 1 Corinthians chapter 10. 2 Corinthians. Oh no, 1 Corinthians. That's NLT. That's why I couldn't see it. So 1 Corinthians 10:1. It says here, avoid Israel's mistakes. Moreover, brethren, I would not that ye should be ignorant how that all our fathers were under the cloud, and all passed through the sea. All right. And were all baptized unto Moses in the cloud and in the sea, and did all eat the same spiritual meat, and did all drink the same spiritual drink, for they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Hamashiach. And the Lord did Yahweh set up Yahweh Shai to lead us in the way. Okay. So, but verse 5, it says, but with many of them the Most High was not well pleased. Why? Because in order to please him, you must come to him believing in him. All right. And you must believe that he's a rewarder of those, all right, who diligently seek him. Okay. So, and when you look at, the Israelites, let me tell you, they saw the miracles and still didn't believe. You imagine that? And when you look at today's time, when you look at, all the plan that Israel is doing, our people, they're doing the same things. Okay. And the same spirit behind what they're doing. All right. Okay. So here, but with many of them, the Most High was not well pleased, for they were overthrown in the wilderness. Okay. Now these things were examples to the intent we should not lust after evil things. You see, and our people have a problem with lusting after evil things because they're not looking towards, the kingdom and the world to come. They're too blinded by this world and the little that it has to offer, which is nothing really. All right. It says, as they also lusted, neither be ye idolaters, as were some of them, as it is written, the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play. And this, is pretty much what our people are doing in this day and time. When it's a time to be serious, they're playing when they should be praying and crying out. All right. They dining out when they should be crying out. All right. So neither let us commit fornication as some of them committed. And that fornication was the worship of a golden calf. And we're going to kind of go into that too. And fell in one day 23,000. Now, if you think the Lord planned on this time around the second Exodus, you out your mind, because He's not. All right. And it's gonna be some very fearful times, and the Lord is already, coming after those comfortabilities. You see, the one being the food stamps, EBT, food share, whatever you want to call it. The Lord is taking away comfortabilities, and more comfortabilities are going to be taken away. And what the Lord is doing is proving us whether we have faith or not. Because faith is the only thing that's going to get you through. Not keeping the law, commandments, and all of that. You can do that, but you can still be unfaithful. And men, they talk about the law to boast themselves. That's simply what it is. And we don't have good enough works or works worthy enough to say we did this on our own. We kept the law on our own. No, it's impossible. And we do need Yahushua. We always need Yahushua. Like, our elders, starting with our elders, they always express that. And if it wasn't for Yahushua, this truth, what we're doing now, what we know now, all right, would be absolutely impossible, all right, without him. Okay. Old Testament Israelites, unfaithfulness during the Exodus. All right. And what I'm going to do is, here, because I got a list. Okay. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do it. All right. So what I'll do is I'll do in chronological order, because I asked chat to do that for me, to put it in chronological order. All right. And remember, 1 Corinthians 10 tell us what? He tells us, okay, to avoid these mistakes and don't provoke the Lord, right? Verse 9 says, 1 Corinthians 10:9, neither let us tempt the Most High, the chosen, Hamashiach, the anointed, as some of them also tempted and were destroyed of serpents. Neither murmur ye, as some of them also murmured. And guess what? The Lord is about to try Israel again. Okay? He's about to try us again. And guess what? You're gonna have those same spirits back doing the same things. And this is a warning for us not to. So it says, and were destroyed of the destroyer. All right. So let's start. We're gonna go to Exodus 5. All right, and 20. All right. And this is the first one. This is in Egypt, doubt and weak faith. So right out the gate, they doubted. Strike one. It's like 14 different strikes. Okay. But this is the first one. It says, and they met Moses and Aaron, who stood in the way, as they came forth from Pharaoh. And they said unto him, or unto them, the Lord Yahweh looked upon you and judge, because ye have made our savor, all right, to be abhorred in the eyes of Pharaoh. So they feared Pharaoh more than they feared Yahweh. Okay. And in the eyes of his servants, to put a sword in their hand to slay us. And what you find out about the Israelites, us now, is that they fear the so-called white man more than they fear the Most High Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. Okay? And that's evident because our people, they love to chuck and jive, as they say. They love saying God hates the white man, kind of leaving themselves out, and the scriptures say, don't I hate them that hate you? We hate them with a perfect hatred. Those that hate the Most High. And we're not ashamed to say that. And our people are ashamed to admit that. Okay. So let's continue. Before even leaving Egypt, many doubted. All right. Right. And I mentioned that they fear Pharaoh more than they fear the Most High. So number 2 is crossing the Red Sea. Fear and complaint. They feared and they complained. Exodus 14 and 11. All right. Exodus 14 and 11. It says, and they said unto Moses, because there were no graves in Egypt, hast thou taken us away to die in the wilderness? Wherefore hast thou dealt thus with us? Okay, to carry us forth out of Egypt. Okay. When Pharaoh's army pursued them. Okay. Well, let's see here. Verse 12, Salakia. Is not this the word that we did tell thee in Egypt, saying, let us alone, that we may serve the Egyptians? For it had been better for us to serve the Egyptians than that we should die in the wilderness. Okay. So one of the primary things, the most important things that they did, all right, they forgot the Lord's power. With all the miracles that he's doing, they absolutely forgot the Lord's power. And, you know, the Lord in our time, he subtly showed us his power by waking us up, which is a very powerful thing. I don't think Jake really understands how powerful that is. Because Esau has ran a number on us, and he psychologically conquered us. He took our God away. He took our nationality away. He took the knowledge of ourselves away from us. All right. And that can do a whole lot of damage. And the Lord restored it. And the way Esau was moving, it was almost like it was impossible for that hope to be ignited in us, for us to have that hope. Remember Ezekiel, the 37th chapter, dealing with those dry bones, those dead, those bones. All right. Those bones that were dry. Okay. That was us in a fallen state, in a dead state, a spiritually dead state. And the Lord restored us to life with his spirit, his words of truth, and gathered us by his words. Okay. And that's a powerful thing. So in our time, our people don't even acknowledge that. They kind of downplay it. They lightly esteem it. In the ancient world, all right, they were more worried about how much power Pharaoh had, which was no power at all, because the Lord gave him his power in the first place. When Pharaoh's army pursued, they cried out in fear, forgetting the Most High's power shown through the plagues. The Most High still parted the sea and delivered them. Exodus 14, 21 to 31. All right, let's read that. And Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord Yahweh caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night, and made the sea dry land, and the waters were divided. And this is as this army is chasing them, going after them in pursuit of their lives. Look at this miracle. And the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea upon the dry ground, and the waters were a wall unto them on their right hand and on their left. And the Egyptians pursued and went in after them to the midst of the sea. All right, Salakia. Into the midst of the sea, even all Pharaoh's horses, his chariots, and his horsemen. And it came to pass that in the morning watch, the Lord Yahweh looked unto the host of the Egyptians through the pillar of fire and of the cloud, and troubled the host of the Egyptians. You see? Okay? Because don't forget, all right, power don't come from the multitude of an host. It comes from what? It comes from heaven. And this is what our people failed to realize, failed to see, failed to comprehend. and the Lord's going to do it again. But this time, it's all about the faithful, baby. It's all about the elect. Verse 25, and took off their chariot wheels, and they drave them heavily, so that the Egyptians said, let us flee from the face of Israel, for the Lord Yahweh fighteth for them against the Egyptians. So you think he's not going to fight for us against the modern day Egyptians? Well, if you don't think so, then you got another thing coming. And the Lord Yahweh said unto Moses, stretch out thine hand over the sea, that the waters may come again upon the Egyptians, upon their chariots, and upon their horsemen. And Moses stretched forth his hand over the sea, and the sea returned to its strength when the morning appeared, and the Egyptians fled against it. And the Lord Yahweh overthrew the Egyptians in the midst of the sea. And the waters returned and covered the chariots and the horsemen, and all the host of Pharaoh that came into the sea after them. There remained not so much as one of them, but the children of Israel walked upon dry land in the midst of the sea, and the waters were a wall unto them on their right hand and on their left. Thus said the Lord Yahweh. Thus the Lord Yahweh, saved Israel that day out of the hand of the Egyptians. And Israel saw the Egyptians dead upon the seashore. And Israel saw that great work which the Lord Yahweh did upon the Egyptians. And the people feared the Lord and believed the Lord. Okay? They believed him. All right. But in this instance, it says, blessed is he that believeth and have not seen. We haven't really seen anything. And it's different this time because he pulled out all the works, all the stops in the first Exodus, and they were unfaithful every step of the way. And it's a sad shame, but not this time around. Not for the elect. We don't care too much about the 2/3, but they will show the same unfaithfulness. All right. And in his servant Moses. Okay. So let's continue. Number 3, in the wilderness of Shur, complaining for water. All right. Exodus 15. All right. And 23. All right. The Lord provides water. We'll start at 22. So Moses brought Israel from the Red Sea, and they went out into the wilderness of Shur. And they went 3 days in the wilderness and found no water. Okay. It says, and when they came to Marah, which Marah means bitter. Okay. They could not drink of the waters of Marah. All right. For they were bitter. Therefore, the name of it was called Marah. Okay. And the people murmured against Moses, saying, what shall we drink? So, when you look at this, in actuality, what's happening here is the Lord is testing Israel. Okay. And the scriptures go into that, the Lord trying them, in the wilderness. Okay. He tried them. And this time around, the second Exodus, you think we're not going to be tried? We're being tried even now. Right now, as we speak. Okay. Let me go ahead and cut that. Hopefully. Yeah. So. All right. And what happened? They murmured against Moses, saying, what shall we drink? And he cried unto the Lord Yahweh. And the Lord Yahweh shewed him a tree, which when he had cast it into the waters, the waters were made sweet. You imagine that? Being in the wilderness. All right. And there's a bitter water, but there's sweet herbs to cast into the water so that they may drink. Right. It says, you're talking about a miracle. That's a miracle. It says there he made for them a statute and an ordinance, and there he proved them. Okay. I said it beforehand. But there you go. He tested him. Okay. And you think the Lord ain't testing who's his, who's truly his, and who's not? All right. So their first wilderness complaint came just days after their miraculous deliverance. Can you imagine that? But the Most High sweetened the waters. All right. Sweeten the bitter waters. Okay. You know, maybe a prayer would have been more fitting, crying, praying unto the Lord, maybe that would have been better. Okay. So Slocky, let me get my place back. Okay. So number 4, the wilderness of sin, complaining for food. Exodus 16:2. All right. Let's see here. Exodus 16:2. We'll get straight to the point. And the whole congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. The Lord provides manna. So you notice every response. Check out every response that the Lord gives. Just shows you his integrity, his character. Okay? You can attribute this to his character. Most merciful. All right? And the whole congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. And the children of Israel said unto them, Would to God we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the flesh pots, and when we did eat bread to the full, for ye have brought us forth into the wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. So basically they were saying they were better off in Egypt, all right, than being delivered, okay, and brought to a land of their own where they can be, live autonomously, be sovereign, So they longed for Egypt's food and accused the Most High of bringing them out here to die. Okay. Boy, to imagine that, to say that in your heart, that you brought me this far so you could just murder me and kill me. Man, that right there is the word for it is unappreciative, unappreciative. Wow. Then the Most High mercifully sent manna and quail. Reason why we love chicken so much. So that was his response. Rephidim, next one, testing God for water. This one is Exodus 17:2, right? Wherefore the people did chide with Moses. All right. What's the word for chide? Rayab. All right. Here, to strive, contend, to strive physically with words. So they got hostile. And even now, our people get hostile. All right. When we, tell them, when we give the message from the Lord. All right. On this journey, on this pilgrimage, to conduct a case or suit, legal sue. So they must have came at him as a multitude, ready to, kind of persecute him. And that actually happened. All right. So let's go back. All right. They made a complaint. They was making their complaints. All right. Wherefore, Exodus 17:2, wherefore the people did chide with Moses and said, Give us water that we may drink. And Moses said unto them, Why chide you with me? All right. Why are you contending with me? Wherefore do you tempt the Lord? Okay. And the people thirsted there for water, and the people murmured against Moses and said, Wherefore is this that thou hast brought us up out of Egypt to kill us and our children and our cattle with thirst. And Moses cried unto the Lord, saying, what shall I do unto this people? They be almost ready to stone me. And the Lord said unto Moses, go on before the people, and take with thee of the elders of Israel, and thy rod there wherewith thou smotest the river, take in thine hand, and go. Behold, I will stand before thee there upon the rock of Horeb, and thou shalt smite the rock, all right, and there shall come water out of it, that the people may drink. And Moses did so in the sight of the elders of Israel. And he called the name of the place Massah and Meribah, because the chiding of the children of Israel, and because they tempted the Lord Yahweh, saying, is the Lord among us or not? And you know, the Lord in the scriptures, the Lord makes the case that he's among his people. He's among a remnant. He always says that. Okay. So the place name Massah and Meribah, testing, all right, and contention, because this is what basically what came of it. It was a test. It was a testing. The Lord, them testing the Lord, all right. In other words, tempting him. Okay. And they had contention with Moses, so much so that they wanted to stone him. All right. I forgot what I wanted to say. I wanted to make a statement, but I forgot. Lord willing to come back. But number 6, Mount Sinai, the golden calf. All right. And that's in chapter 32. All right. We know about that one. So the great act of idolatry. All right. Exodus 32. All right. Yeah, you know what? It is important to mention, of course. All right. And when the people saw that Moses delayed to come come down out of the mount, the people gathered themselves together unto Aaron and said unto him, up, make us gods, which shall go before us. For as for this Moses, the man that brought us up. That's what I wanted to say. We was kings. We was kings. You also got a legacy of being the most unappreciative, all right, disrespectful, lowly esteeming people. And that right there, that legacy alone is a shameful thing, you see. And this is what we can't have on this time around. We can't have that same mindset, you know. And I'm cut even now because you really have little sense of what the Lord is doing and how he's doing it, because he don't have to do it. And that's why at the end of the day, he's the one that's going to get all the praise. None of us, all right, can boast in anything that we've done. It's the Lord that actually put us in position to do it. I mean, if we're faithful unto the end, then we of course joint heirs, and we get a name, all right, for ourselves. But that's the Lord's doing. It's not of ourselves. And you got a lot of Israelites, they're self-willed, and they go out of their way to become, the center of attention. They go out of their way to make themselves the face. Okay, and it's not about that. All right, so continuing on, it says, it says, the man that brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we wot not what is become of him. All right. And Aaron said unto them, break off the golden earrings, which are in the ears of your wives and of your sons and of your daughters, and bring them unto me. And all the people brake off the golden earrings which were in their ears, and brought them unto Aaron, and he received them at their hand, and fashioned it with a graven tool, after he had made it a molten calf. And they said, These be thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. And what's equivalent? There's many things that's equivalent to this, but Israel will put on a whole nother spirit than what, the scriptures is dealing with. Okay. So the great act of idolatry, worshiping a calf while Moses was on the mountain dealing with the Lord, dealing with him, giving him the commandments. All right. So 3,000 was judged of this group. All right. All right. So yeah, most I just read 28. All right. When you read it, you can start from 26 or up a little bit more. Exodus 32 and 28. Wait a minute. Uh-oh. Yeah, 32 and 28. Salaki. It says, And the children of Levi did according to the word of Moses, and there fell of the people that day about 3,000 men. All right. So let me do this. Wisdom of Solomon. All right. Wisdom of Solomon. Verse 11. And 8. All right. Wisdom of Solomon 11 and 8. And it reads. All right. And this is dealing with their thanklessness. All right. Declaring by that thirst, then how thou hadst punished their adversaries. For when they were tried, albeit, but in mercy chastised, they knew how the ungodly were judged in wrath and tormented, thirsting in another manner than the just. Verse 10. For these thou didst admonish, meaning to warn and try, as a father, but the other as a severe king thou didst condemn and punish. Right. So, all right, let me see. Yep. Okay. Well, yeah. So the Lord had mercy on some, and the others he punished. Okay. Verse 11, whether they were absent or present, they were vexed alike, for a double grief came upon them, and a groaning for the remembrance of things past. Let me see. For when they heard by their own punishments, the other to be benefited, they had some feeling of the Lord. Okay. Let's move on. The next one, number 7, is Terabah, or Taberah. Complaining again. Right? And this is in Numbers. All right. And I'm going to kind of, with this one, the next few ones, I'm going to just kind of, I'm going to give the occasion, and I'll name off the scripture, because I kind of want to get to the next point in this, basically on how we should be in these times. All the while we're reflecting on the things that they've done. So this is definitely a reflection, and this is a warning on what not to be. Okay. So Numbers chapter 11, All right. And after this one, I'm going to just kind of skim through them. All right. Numbers 11, 1 through 2. It says, and when the people complained, it displeased the Lord. All right. And the Lord Yahweh heard it, and his anger was kindled, and the fire of the Lord burnt among them and consumed them that were in the utmost or uttermost parts of the camp. And the people cried unto Moses, and when Moses prayed unto the Lord Yahweh, the fire was quenched. And he called the name of the place Taberah, because the fire of the Lord burnt among them. Okay. And, you know, starting with our elders apostles, you know, we've said, you know, the times of, you know, that's coming is going to be a lot more uncomfortable. Why? Because it's a trial, it's a testing, and the Lord is bringing us through the fire. He's and the scriptures talk about the here in Isaiah. Okay, and keep that in mind. All right, because it's important. Because as we go through this, you will have many individuals complaining, just like they did in the wilderness. Okay. And those that complain and fail to see what the Lord is doing and what the Lord is, you know, wrought, they're going to be punished severely. Okay. So what is this? Isaiah 48. All right. And 9, it says, for my name's sake will I defer mine anger, and for my praise will I refrain for thee, that I cut thee not off. Behold, I have refined thee, but not with silver. I have chosen thee in the furnace of affliction. So the Lord has chosen us in the furnace of affliction. For mine own sake, even for mine own sake, will I do it. For how should my name be polluted? Meaning his people. All right. And I will not give my glory unto another. Okay. So this trial is meant for the Israelites. It's meant for us. Okay. All right. And he's doing it. So what? He don't cut us off. Because if you don't go through chastisement, all right, you're a bastard, as the scriptures go into. I think that's Hebrews, the 12th chapter, if I'm not mistaken, or the 5th. All right. So let's get another one. Salakia. I know it's kind of taking long. Sirach 2. All right. Sirach chapter 2. All right. And 5, it says, for gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. Okay. And this is what we're going to have to go through. This is what this is set up for. All right. Ultimately, to go through it and have the gift and use the gift of faith, understanding why we're going through it, understanding that we're being purged from our filthy ways so that we may be accepted and blameless in the time of the Lord's return. So don't do what they did in the wilderness. All right. So we're going to skim through the rest of them. So it's like 7 more. That's why I kind of want to skim through it, because it is a lot. We just finished with Taberah, complaining again. Numbers 11 and 1 through 2. They complained about hardship, and fire consumed parts of the camp until Moses prayed. Number 8 was Kibroth Hatava, lusting for meat. That's Numbers 11, 4 through 6. And being that I got it up here, I'm going to go ahead and read it. It says, in the mixed multitude that was among them fell a lusting, and the children of Israel also wept again and said, who shall give us flesh to eat? So they did what the mixed multitude did, which were the heathen. All right. Okay. Those that went out with them. Okay. We remember the fish which we did eat in Egypt freely, the cucumbers and the melons and the leeks and the onions and the garlic. But now our soul is dried away. There's nothing at all beside this manna before our eyes. And the manna was as coriander seed, and the color thereof as the color of bdellium. And the people went about and gathered it. Hey, they didn't have nothing, and this came from the heavens. Okay. And ground it in mills, or beat it in a mortar. So their mind was still stuck in Egypt, in the comforts of Egypt. So when the Lord take the comforts away of the modern day Egypt, we're supposed to be thankful for our daily bread and what the Lord is providing for us, and not worrying about the latter. Right? It says, and baked it in pans and made cakes of it. And the taste of it was as the taste of fresh oil. And when the dew fell upon the camp in the night, the manna fell upon it. Craving flesh, they despised the manna. You see? So craving the comforts that they had in Egypt, they despised the miracle that was being set forth before them. And Jacob's going to do it again. God gave quail, the Most High gave quail, then sent a plague in judgment. Wisdom of Solomon 16:2-6 refers to this. All right, they were not thankful for that which they received. Okay, we kind of explained that. Number 9, Hazaroth. Envy and rebellion against leadership. Boy, don't we see that today. And we see a lot of it. Why? All right. Jealousy, envy. Okay. So you do have the occasion with Miriam and Aaron. Okay. And they didn't respect the order. They figured, hey, we people too. It ain't just Moses. Well, the Lord did just choose Moses. All right. And they had to adhere to Moses. That's Numbers 12:1-2. Okay, I lied. I'm going to go ahead and read it. And Miriam and Aaron spake against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman. Right. He had a heathen woman. So what? Whom he had married. For he had married an Ethiopian woman. And they said, had the Lord Yahweh indeed spoken only by Moses? Hath he not spoken also by us? And the Lord heard it. All right. Now the man Moses was very meek above all the men which were upon the face of the earth. Wow. So he's a lowly fella. All right. It seemed as though he was subtle. And being that he was illiterate, or he couldn't speak that well, right? It kind of plays into that. Soft-spoken probably, It says, and the Lord spake suddenly unto Moses and unto Aaron and unto Miriam, come out ye three unto the tabernacles, or the tabernacle of the congregation. And they three came out, and the Lord Yahweh came down in the pillar of the cloud, and stood in the door of the tabernacle, and called Aaron and Miriam, and they both came forth. And he said, hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known unto him in a vision, and will speak unto him in a dream. My servant Moses is not so, who is faithful in all mine house. With him will I speak mouth to mouth, even apparently. Right. So the Lord said, I'm going to deal with him. Okay. And not in dark speeches, and the similitude of the Lord Yahweh shall he behold. Wherefore then were ye not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? right? And then a lot of our people are not afraid to speak against dignities, and even now, who the Lord is dealing with, you know. And that's why this thing is a very serious thing. It's the Lord. It's the Lord. You know, it's Him. You know, bringing forth righteousness by raising us up in the first place. And you got those individuals who speak against how He's doing it. You know, okay. So be wary, because guess what happened to her? Of course, she became leprous. All right. So that's that incident. All right. And the anger of the Lord was kindled. All right, against them, and he departed, and the cloud departed from off the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow. And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. I know that shocked the hell out of him. It had to. Okay. So let's move on. All right. So even the leaders rebel out of jealousy. Another thing to watch out for. Kadesh, number 10, Kadesh Barnea, refusing to enter the promised land. Numbers 14, 2-4. Let us make a captain. Let us return into Egypt. How long will this people provoke me? Man, I got to read that. Numbers 14:2. It says, and all the children of Israel murmured against Moses and against Aaron, and the whole congregation said unto them, would the Most High that we had died in the land of Egypt, or would God we had died in this wilderness? All right. And wherefore have the Lord brought us unto, you know what? Let me read this in the NLT. All right. Numbers 14:2. Their voices rose in a great chorus of protest against Moses and Aaron. If only we had died in Egypt, or even here in the wilderness, they complained. Why is the Lord taking us to this country only to have us die in battle? Our wives, and you see the unfaithfulness, not being able to, have the vision. You got to have vision, right? Vision. All right. And they weren't thinking ahead. All right. And this is the thing. They're not considering what the Lord has set up, because what? They're unfaithful. They're not believing. They're unbelieving. All right. So why is the Lord taking us to this country only to have us die in battle, our wives and our little ones? Will be carried off as plunder. All right. Will be carried off as plunder. Wouldn't it be better for us to return to Egypt? So they thought about going back. Then they plotted against themselves. Let's choose a new leader and go back to Egypt. You imagine that? All right. But you got Jason in that spirit right now. They're going to say to hell with the truth, especially when Esau comes down on us. Okay. They're going to say to hell with that. I ain't an Israelite no more. You know? It says, then Moses and Aaron fell face down on the ground before the whole community of Israel. Two of the men who had explored the land, Joshua, son of Nun, and Caleb, son of Jephunneh, tore their clothing. They said to all the people of Israel, the land we traveled through and explored is a wonderful land. Right? Reminding them of what to look forward to. Right? And if the Lord is pleased with us, he will bring us safely into that land and give it to us. So they were able to see it, I believe, at some point. Okay. But still, their hearts were still in Egypt. All right. And that's why the scriptures tell us we got to depart from this place in Jeremiah 51. Because just like that Egypt, this place is going to get judged. All right. The second Egypt. Okay. Jeremiah 51:6. And it says here, flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. Okay. Which America is also known as Babylon. Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of the Lord's vengeance. he will render unto her recompense. The Lord is going to pay this place back. All right. So verse 8, it says, and if the Lord is pleased with us, he will bring us safely into the land and give it to us. It is a rich land flowing with milk and honey. Do not rebel against the Lord, and don't be afraid of the people of the land. They are only helpless prey to us. They have no protection, but the Lord is with us. Don't be afraid of them. All right. Okay. But the whole community began to talk about stoning Joshua and Caleb. Then the glorious presence of the Lord appeared to all the Israelites at the tabernacle. Right. So you had some who, all right, who wanted to go back, and eventually they wanted to kill the leaders that the Lord set up. You know? And so when you reflect on the wilderness, man, it's a lot that happened. It's a lot. It's a lot. It was a lot of rebellion. It was a lot. Okay. You know? After hearing the spies report, right, and this is after the report, which is ironic. It says, the people refused to enter Canaan despite the Most High's promises. God condemned that generation to wander 40 years because of their unbelief. That's why we got to believe. We can't, you know, and Jake, the 2/3, they're going to disbelieve. That's why they're going to be destroyed. This thing is solely predicated on our belief and how strongly we believe. Okay. Number 11, Korah's rebellion. Number 16, 1-3. Korah took men and they gathered themselves together against Moses and Aaron. And against Aaron, the earth opened her mouth and swallowed them up. All right. In short of that story. All right. So they raised up men of their own and they rebelled against Moses. And we know what happened to the Levite Korah and his followers and his family, that camp that came against them. Came against Moses. The Levite Korah and his followers rebelled against Moses' authority, judged instantly. Sirach 45:23-24. Come on now, don't fail me now. Come on. All right. Which I mean, we ain't got to. We'll get it. We can get it. Sirach 45:23. It says the third. Here we go. Verse 22. Sirach 45:22. Howbeit in the land of the people he had no inheritance, neither had he any portion among the people. For the Lord himself is his portion and inheritance. And that's a profound statement because, yeah, we didn't have no inheritance. We didn't have a land, but the Lord was our, he was our possession. Okay. Which is greater than that all of that. But eventually the Lord's purpose was to give us a land, you see? And just like the Lord's purpose now is to give us a kingdom, but that's why we let go of this thought that we're, safe here in America, that we're supposed to settle here and that we're supposed to, rest here. There ain't no rest here. Okay. Verse 23. The third in glory in Phinehas, all right, the son of Eleazar, because he had zeal in the Lord, in the fear of the Lord, all right, and stood up with good courage and of heart when the people were turned back and made reconciliation for Israel. Verse 24. Therefore was there a covenant of peace made with him, that he should be the chief of the sanctuary and of his people, and that he and his posterity, meaning his children, should have the dignity of the priesthood forever. Okay, so Eleazar's line. Okay. Verse 12. 12. Waters of Meribah again. Numbers 20 and 2. And there was no water, and the people chode with Moses. So, I mean, we went over 12, but I'm going to kind of cut it there, and we're going to move on. All right. Kind of summarize. All right. Fear and doubt, complaining for food, testing God, golden calf, complaining, lust for meat, envy, refusal to enter, leadership revolt, complaint again, complaining. And that was the legacy right there. Okay. A very shameful thing. And this is why we're being warned in 1 Corinthians 10. All right. That the whole chapter, really. Not to be as they who complained and tempted the Lord in that time. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do, I got notes here. Key lessons from the timeline we just went through. I didn't read the rest of them, but the rest was Meribah again, complaining for water again. Fiery serpents complaining again. Throughout wilderness, repeated rebellion, reflected in the Apocrypha. All right. So that was the remaining ones. So the key lessons from the timeline. Faith is the antidote to rebellion. Every act of unbelief during the Exodus stemmed from fear, impatience, or ingratitude. Again, this in what the lack of faith and unbelief stemmed from what? Fear. So who did Jake fear in this time? Esau, Edom. Impatience. All right. The scriptures talk about we must. It says we need patience. All right. The scriptures say that. And as the Lord long suffered, the wicked, the evil in the earth. All right. He suffered it to be. He waited patiently. All right. Because what's coming is going to do all the hurt. It's going to undo all the evil works. So at the end of the day, it seemed like a long time. But in no time, the Lord's going to change it around. And we believe that because the scriptures say what it say. Faith pleases the Creator. Without faith, it is impossible to please Him. And that's 11 and 6. That's what we started with. Faith honors the Most High or God's character. Why? Because, the Lord's merciful. All right. Trusting He is both powerful and faithful. And we have to believe, we have to trust that the Lord is powerful and He's faithful. And that's basically, we're subject to it. We're subject to the hope. And believe me, we got enough to, to be wary about, but enough to trust in the Lord against. Okay? Because the Lord had made it so. Faith endures trials to purification. And this is the main thing. This is the main thing that we cannot overlook. The trial of your faith being much more precious. That's 1 Peter. All right. 1 and 7. Let's get there. 1 Peter 1 and 7. And it reads, it says, these trials will show. I'll get it in the KJV. Let's see here. Here we go. 1 Peter 1 and 3. Blessed be the Most High and Father of our Lord Yahushua HaMashiach, which according to His abundant mercy, we ain't get it off of merit, individual works. keeping the law. No, we didn't. And you can't boast in that. All right, because if you boast in that, then you deny Yahushua, you deny his sacrifice. So, which according to his abundant mercy hath begotten us again unto a lively hope by the resurrection of Yahushua Mashiach from the dead. And resurrection and believing in the resurrection, all right, is one of the pillars of what we believe, that the Lord rose him up again. Because guess what that means? That means he's going to raise us up too. To an inheritance incorruptible and undefiled. Right? Much way better than what we're witnessing now with these bodies in this world. And that fadeth not away, reserved in heaven for you, an eternal body, who are kept by the power of the Most High through faith unto salvation, ready to be revealed in the last time. And we're close. We're close. All right. And somehow very soon the Lord is going to turn up our faith just as well as the trial, because the trial is going to prove our faith. Okay. Wherein ye greatly rejoice, though now for a season, if need be, ye are in heaviness through manifold temptations. And we are. I was just saying to myself earlier, I was like, man, I'm worn out. It's like the more you hear about Esau, the more worn out you become. And I was saying to myself, like, damn. It's like my mind is blown how much wickedness that, is going on. I mean, I ain't surprised. But when you reflect on certain things, you kind of get that. You kind of reflect on those things. Not as if you surprised, but, when you reflect and you kind of, you go back to those moments like, God damn, So verse 7, it says that the trial of your faith being much more precious than of gold that perisheth, though it be tried with fire, might be found unto praise and honor and glory at the appearing of Yahushua Mashiach. Because by that time, through the trial that we're going to go through, as the Lord says, he's going to bring us through the fire. We're going to be what? We're going to be clean and unblameable in the eyes of our Lord. Whom having not seen ye love, in whom though now ye see him not, yet believing ye rejoice with joy unspeakable and full of glory. Because this is what honors the Lord. Having joy in what he said and blocking out the trial, the uncomfort, and thinking towards him and thinking towards a kingdom, the kingdom that was promised to us. All right. And of course, Sirach 2:1, y'all know what that say, when thou comest to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation. All right. And remember, we got an hour of temptation. All right. Those who believe in the Lord, as the scriptures say, Revelations 3:10, he's going to keep us. What? For keeping his word. Now we got to try. We got to deal with Esau, blaming us and trying to make this ministry look bad, to the world. Okay. But if we hold it, what it says is, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. Behold, I come quickly. Hold that fast which thou hast, that no man take thy crown. Him that overcometh will I make a pillar in the temple of my God. All right. In other words, you're gonna be among the men. All right, that's gonna be honored and have, a name, a reputation. Because we're gonna be as joint heirs. We're gonna be, glorified with Yahushua. And he shall go no more out, and I will write upon him the name of my God and the name of the holy city, of the city of my God, which is New Jerusalem, which cometh down out of heaven from the Most High, from our God. And we're going to come down with power, Lord willing, we be at a number. And I will write upon him my new name. And that name is reputation. It's a glory. All right. Let's continue on. Let's see here. I'm thinking about more precepts, but I kind of let's see here, Salakia. Bear with me for a second. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I guess I can cut it right there. I've been going for about an hour and 10, 11 minutes. So, you know, yeah, man, you know, in summary, you got to have hope. You can't be like they were in the wilderness. And that's a good enough example. So at every turn, we got to understand that, you know, the Lord is not, he's not punishing us. He didn't bring us this far to destroy us. You know, he didn't bring us this far to let us down. In fact, this will be the last scripture. Jeremiah chapter 29, verses 11. It says, "For I know the thoughts that I think toward you, said the Lord Yahweh, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end." You know, that's like when you're talking to your woman. Like, I know why we together. You know, you might lack a little faith. You might not see it, but I know damn well why we together. You know, I know I love you. You know, and, you know, the woman is visual. She, you know, you gotta do it for them to believe. And the Lord is doing it. Okay, for us. NLT says, Jeremiah 29:11, this is, "For I know the plans that I have for you, says the Lord. They are plans for good and not for disaster, to give you a future and a hope. In those days when you pray, I will listen. If you look for me wholeheartedly, you will find me. I will be found by you, says the Lord. I will end your captivity and restore your fortunes. I will gather you out of the nations where I sent you and will bring you home again to your own land." Okay? And that's beautiful. That's what the Lord promised. And he's a man of his word. He's a God of his word. So with that, Lord willing, this was edifying. Until next time, I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Bahasham Rakakwadash, double honors to the apostles and elder bishops here at Great Millstone. Shalom to you, Akim, who are striving in sincerity to bring about this truth and feeding the Lord's flock. Shalom, shalom.